Hi, this is Bambo Kino. Welcome to the Tommy Chris Show. Today's edition has Tommy's guest, David Walker, independent filmmaker who's currently in town filming his latest picture, The Outsider. David has 7 movies to his credit, including The Interview, Running, and No More Ugly Jessica. So stick around. Here's Tommy and David.
Hello again, dear friends, and welcome to another edition of Tommy Chris TV. It's great to have you with us. As always, our guest today is film director David L. Walker, a local director who is working on a film currently being shot right here in our area. And welcome to the show, David. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
You're from Warren.
Oh yeah, born and raised in Warren.
And I heard about your first movie, Running.
Oh.
And you had some success with that. That's amazing. And I did, you know what? I think I did see a trailer on that one time.
Yes.
And tell us about how the encore thing happened for you.
Oh man, that was the first one. That was an eye-opening experience to the different things you'll run into when you're trying to make a film. You know, we had to do so much moving around, and that I'm surprised it got done.
Was that shot in its entirety in our area? Or?
Yes. All of my movies that I've done so far have all been shot right here. I shot one in Cleveland with a lady named Marianne Laurent. She's a writer-director in Cleveland. And she hired me to do one of her movies called Toyed Emotions. And so other than that movie, everything else has been done right here in the Warren, Youngstown, Niles, Howland area.
Well, tell us about each one of these movies. Now, Running was about what? Obviously, running. Or
Running was about domestic violence. It was about how it not just affects the person who's getting abused, but the whole family. So it's like if there is a situation going on, it's not just the woman who suffers. It's her parents who knows about that situation. It's her brothers and sisters. It's, everybody who loves her. When she gets hit, they also get hit. And it was to show how I don't care how Christian you are. I don't care how much you want to love everything. When something like that happens in your family, it's devastating, and it affects everybody.
So Running was used more or less as a metaphor for...
Well, it was a music group called the Golden Wonders, and I heard that song from them, and it just stuck with me.
Was it about domestic violence?
No. It's about how we run from God, basically.
Oh.
How we... just basically do our own thing, and we don't listen like we should, and then we end up in messes that we shouldn't even be in because we're not following God. And when I heard the song, I'm like, man, that would be great as the theme for a movie. And so I approached them, and they said, yeah, let's do it.
Now, did you write it also?
Yes.
You wrote, directed, produced,
edited,
everything?
Yeah.
You like to use local talent, don't you?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Is it for reasons other than budgetary factors?
Well, no. It's just that the problem that I have with a casting call is I don't know you. I don't know what you're doing outside of being an actor every now and then. I don't know if you're temperamental. I don't know if you're wanted by the FBI. I don't know nothing about you. If you're disruptive. So basically, whenever I write a script, I have certain people in mind. And so I know their voice. I know their skill set, in my opinion. And I know what they can do tonal range. Because if I'm writing something for someone who's country, got a country accent and everything, and they show up, and I was like, yeah, well, here, you're going to be, and then their accent just don't work.
Well, it's amazing that you can go to a bank of people like that. I mean,
everything is customized. The reason I like to think that a lot of my movies, I'm okay with, is because every character picked is someone who I know that could do that job. You know what I mean? They don't have to be, super, you got to be Meryl Streep, because, Hollywood, they can literally search the world and find whoever they want and pay them whatever they want to come and be in it. I don't have that luxury.
Right.
But I do know a group of people who are talented enough to pull off whatever it is I need done. And I just keep dipping into that pool as often as I can.
That's amazing that you have that advantage. That's great. Angry Tears.
Uh,
Nisei Guilford.
yeah, Nisi Guilford.
I'm sorry,
Weaver.
Nisi.
Yeah, yeah. She right after running, she approached me. She was getting a movie made of this anyway in Hollywood. It was
Wow.
already in the process, and we talked for a while through a mutual friend named Sam Smith, and we thought it'd be more beneficial for her just to shoot it here with me, you know, and so that's what we did. She already had all her people because she writes stage plays. She's wrote a lot of books. She won some awards and everything, but at the time, it's a timing issue. That was a couple of years ago. She was eager to get going, and she's already had everybody ready to go. And instead of throwing 30 people on a plane, going to California for God knows how long, and then coming back would be a little expensive. So if we can just do it all here, it would just,
Certainly.
it just made sense. It just made sense.
Now, is she from the area?
Oh yes, yes. I believe she's from Youngstown. We just recently did another film with her called Devil with a Smile,
Uh-huh.
and she has that playing all over now too.
No More Ugly Jessica.
Oh yeah. Well,
That's kind of a humorous title, but
I tell you what, No More Ugly Jessica was fascinating for me. That is probably to date the most fun I had. Lady lived in Florida.
uh-huh.
Okay, Katie Jenkins. She lived in Florida. She wrote a book called "Who Is This Ugly Jessica?" Now, Ugly Jessica is not a person; it's a spirit. It's a spirit that gets on us to make us judge other people. Because sometimes when you know the mature people from the immature people is, the mature people are always trying to build people up. And if somebody have a quirk or something wrong with them, you don't put them down for it because you understand we all have something we have to deal with. The immature person puts it on, look at them. I heard their mother did this and their father did this. And you're study judging and you're study criticizing. And she called that Ugly Jessica. So she sent me her book. I read the book. We discussed everything. She wanted me to take my talent to South Beach to make the movie. And that didn't work out too well for LeBron. So I said, look, I'm just going to stay here and make the movie. And she said, okay, that's fine. And she jumped on a plane with her people to come down. But it was fascinating because I was on the phone with her for hours, just doing an interview. My first 4 movies were all from a woman's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a woman.
See that?
Yeah, I'm not a woman. So,
I can see that too.
So for me, it's about doing the research. It's about being on the phone with people who actually goes through it, listening to what they're saying, asking the right questions, trying to get in that feeling of, because we're all the same. Being lonely is lonely. Being in pain is being in pain. Having your heart broke is having your heart broke. Whether you man, woman, don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
We all have those things in common. It's just that the difference between men and women is the way we express it. And so by writing all these female lead things, I'm learning more on how they express their feelings,
Mm-hmm.
And if I ever get it wrong, my wife is really quick to let me know, nah, you got that wrong. Because
That's what wives are for.
that's what right. But
Hey,
my wife is next level because, she's a little off subject.
No, next level meaning what?
Next level meaning she everything. I don't sit here alone. Okay, when you talk about me and you're talking about the movies and my company Walkstar, I don't sit here alone. I always sit here with my wife. My wife is the backbone of everything. She's the glue that holds everything together. She's the one that makes the phone calls when I can't figure something out or I get depressed and I'm down on myself. She's the one that steers me in the right direction. She is the real one who should be sitting here. I always tell her, you do all the work and I get all the credit. And I'm okay with that. But my wife, when I mean next level, one time I had a deadline and I'm on the computer at 3 o'clock in the morning. She come in, she sat down, give me something to drink, kissed me on the forehead. See you in the morning, honey. She understands. You don't get that all the time. She understands. Okay,
Important.
I don't spend a lot of time with her. I don't spend a lot of time with my son. And every time I say that, they say, "Who are you?" Because they joking with me because it's a sacrifice.
David doesn't live here anymore.
No, pretty much. It's a sacrifice. And when I say next level, she understands all that and she helps me through.
I wanted to ask you, now, obviously, there was a book involved here,
Mhm.
and when you do a movie from a book, it requires adaptation
Mhm.
and transferring to screenplay. Is that a difficult process?
Well, yes, it is. You're gonna get me in trouble because I look at it like this. It's a difficult process because when people write their own memoirs, and I'm not just talking about Katie and Miss Weaver, because I get approached a lot to do people's biographies, and I literally get calls from all over the country. It's fascinating to me that little old me and Niles, is getting phone calls because I turn people's personal life events into movies, but they get in their own way. They want to tell their story because they lived it and they feel it. You know what I mean? The pain they went through, and this is just like therapy for them to just like get this out of them because it was so much. But nobody is going to care as much as they do.
It's true.
They're the ones that went through it. We didn't. We can sit here and sympathize. We can sit here and say, "Oh, I get it. I understand. Yeah, that's so sad." But nobody's going to feel it the way they do. I mean, they're the one that has PTSD over it. They're the ones suffering, having flashbacks. A song, a smell, a word can just take you right back to where, it all started from. And so I got to calm them down and say, look, you're talking to a lot of different people. And we're going to have to make this make sense. We're going to have to add people who probably didn't even exist to advance this story forward, And my first question to everybody, whether they approach me to do a movie, a documentary, I say, what do you want people to feel when they get up and walk out of the theater? That's my question. And
Do they usually have an answer for it?
oh yeah, and it's very telling. Like with Katie Jenkins and Miss Weaver, it was the only reason I did it because they was like both of them had pretty much the same story. No matter what you go through, no matter how much pain is involved, if you get right with God, if you give God your cares and your pain, it don't go away, but it makes things so much easier because when you have unforgiveness, you can't move on. And that is something I do because I'm a minister. Pastor Raymond Smith in Hartville is my pastor, best man on the planet. I mean, that church, him and Ray and all of them, Whitney, all of them, they're just wonderful. They instill in me those principles.
Now, how long have you been a minister?
I have been a minister for about 8-9 years, and all my movies are Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, ain't nobody no drinking, smoking, cussing, and all that. You don't really need all that to tell a story.
No,
you don't.
certainly not.
The only reason Hollywood puts all that crazy stuff in movies is because they believe that's what people want to see. But I always ask everybody, what's the best movie you ever watched? And if they say Rocky, you can't name any one of those things that made that movie great that you watched and loved so much. If you're not going to pass on knowledge to help someone else,
Some kind of a message?
some type of a message, if you're not going to help people who are in a situation understand that there's always a way of getting out, if it's just for your own benefit, then I'm sorry, I'm not your man to do that
Right.
because I don't.
It's not a self-serving thing, and
Right.
is what you're trying to say.
Exactly. It's about sacrifice.
Your focus probably would be messages that would help other people outside yourself, going outside yourself,
Right.
and for the benefit of others.
Right. That's what life should be about. Each one, teach one. The reason why we clamor for Marilyn Monroe or, LeBron James or all these is not necessarily because they are great at what they do, but they persevered through storms to get where they are and operate on a high level. You know what I mean? And we appreciate the fact that people can rise above their situations, whatever. I ain't saying it's easy, and I'm not saying that they always made the right call, but I'm just saying that that's what we appreciate in this life. The underdog, being born to a single mom on welfare, and next thing you know, you are the best person on the planet at something. You could have very easily been on drugs. You could have been very easily led astray by other people being in gangs or something, but you persevered and you attained something and maintained it. That's inspiring.
It is.
That's why we look at, people who are up, and we have that kind of appreciation because we all have circumstances.
Now, the transition from minister to film director, not difficult?
No, it ain't no different. It's no different.
The same thing?
Same thing. Same thing. Same thing. The same principles. I mean, I'm hardwired. You know what I mean? The Bible, I'm hardwired. And I always tell my wife that when a movie violates scripture, that's when it goes off base. You know what I mean? When you see certain things happen in life and it doesn't lead to a good ending. The path that you're on, and sometimes they glamorize a bad life, but you don't see the struggles behind the scenes. You don't see the fact that they can't sleep with the regrets that they have. You don't see the fact that they, looking around every corner because they wrong so many people. But you see money, you see men, women, cars, houses, and you think, oh, is it? They never show you all that stuff. And so since they don't, it's something you just gotta.
Now, you mentioned the church in Hartford.
Hartville, Ohio.
Hartville. Oh, I know where that is.
Yes.
That's Route 6?
Yeah, right by Hartville Kitchen. You ever been to Hartville Kitchen?
Yeah. I haven't been there, but
you got to go to
Hartville
Hartville Kitchen.
There's a circle there?
No, I don't think there's a circle there.
Maybe I'm thinking of Hart Grove.
Yes, you're thinking about Hart Grove. Right.
Now, Hartville is where exactly?
In Hartville.
I wouldn't have put that together.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I'm asking you is because do you still actively minister there?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
like every Sunday?
East Maples, right. Every Sunday morning, my wife and my son, we're there.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Do you act in some of your movies?
No.
You don't ever get on the other side of the camera, huh?
I have a cameo appearance every now and then,
Mm-hmm.
but that's about it. I'm just too obsessive to be in front.
Yeah, I always wondered how people like I mentioned Woody Allen again. I mean, not that he's my idol or anything, but he does a lot of that.
Yes.
He directs and acts.
Right.
And jumps on the other side of the camera.
Right.
I would imagine you'd have to have an assistant director.
Oh, I do. Tim Stoudemire started out being my assistant director, and now Candy Thomas. She helps me. My wife is always there. She does everything just like I do.
Yeah.
And so I do have assistants and all that stuff. It didn't start out that way. You know what I mean? The more you do and the more people see you're serious about it, then they want to come on and help. And I'm very grateful to that. Like I said, I don't sit here by myself. It's a lot of people that.
Well, none of us do.
None
of us can. We can't do it all.
Well,
we need help.
Right, but I would like to acknowledge all the people that helped me out along the way. Like, Brian Brown is a great actor. Kirsten McHale, she's a great actress. I mean, these are people who have been there for me. When I call, they're like, okay, let's work it out and get a time where we can get this done. They believed in me enough to waste their time to come and help me out to do something. And I appreciate that. I really do. So after I did Angry Tears, I met Jose. And he had a couple ideas and stuff. And I thought, and at the time, I'm like, I have a minute. So let me do this.
By the way, he's talking about Jose Colon, who was
Yes.
a guest on the show
Yes.
the other day.
And so
Manuscript writer.
Right, and I had a minute. So I'm like, well, let me do this show for him. And so we decided to go ahead and do The Outsider. I was kind of down on The Outsider in the beginning because it's about Amish people. I ain't got nothing against Amish people, but they don't go to movies. It's kind of hard to have messages.
Good point. I didn't think of that.
It's real hard to have a message and take something to an audience
That doesn't
that the
exist.
audience don't exist.
Right.
Right, and so I'm
yeah.
like, you kept saying, you think this will work? I said, no, not really. I'm just that honest. But the first guy that we had in it, he was Amish. He used to be, they, excommunicated or whatever the case may be, have, lack of rights. So he was on board for a while.
And that didn't work out?
That didn't work out at all.
Because of his Amish life, or what was the reason?
You trying to get me in trouble. Currently, right now, working on 4 different movies. 4. And most of them, I'm writing. So between me writing all these movies and directing and editing, and then I do weddings too, and so I got to get that done. Everybody can't have their script early. On an odd occasion, I get done with a script and they have it weeks early, and when we shooting, it's amazing to me because I forgot what I wrote at the time. So I'm
That's
like,
easy
wow,
to
that's
do.
pretty good.
Sure.
Yeah. But With The Outsider, we go scene by scene. That's the way we're shooting it. So I make sure I got an outline. Okay, I got an outline on where the movie is going. The Amish guy got beat with a whip from his dad. It's crazy. And so he got thrown out because he seen a woman that he was interested in that wasn't Amish. Okay. Okay. So he's walking through the woods because he ain't got no place to go. You know, Amish is a tight community. And one of the threats is like if people choose the outside world, you can no longer have anything to do with the Amish community. So you have no support structure. You have nothing to fall back on. You have no moral support. Your mother ain't talking to you. Daddy ain't talking to you, brothers and sisters. And we need that in life as a support mechanism, you know, to move on. So without that, you basically have nothing. So, I changed a lot of the story. It wasn't long enough to be a feature film. So in order for me to get engaged, I have to bridge that gap. Because if you say, hey, want to watch an Amish movie? For all the people who do want to see an Amish movie, I'm quite sure there are some out there.
The Witness was a good one.
Yeah, you could watch the Amish.
What's his name?
Woody
Harrison
Allen?
Ford?
Oh, no. Christy Alley had an Amish where they hid out with the Amish, her and her husband, because they was part of some big
Didn't
scheme.
see that one.
God, what was the name of that?
The only Amish movie I saw was The Witness by little Amish boy witnessed a murder in the bathroom.
Okay.
With Indiana Jones.
Right, with
Yeah,
Harrison Ford.
Harrison
I didn't
Ford,
see
right.
that. I'll look that up.
Very good movie.
Yeah, but technically, that's not really about Amish. You know, it's about right.
Yeah,
This is about the Amish lifestyle, and this, that, and the other. And what I did was I added a Christian man into it, having problems with his wife. So he having a problem with his family, he having a problem with his family. It's a chance encounter that they meet, and regardless of their belief systems and backgrounds, you know, they help each other. You know, so that's my way of saying God is universal. You know, you can't help, you can't hate people, because it's always been crazy to me why you say, oh, well, you're Catholic. And I'm like, so right is right and wrong is wrong. You got to be mindful of the audience, period. They're the ones who you're talking to. They're the ones who you got to convey. You can't just take for granted that they know what you want to do, because they don't. Everybody got different walks of life, different backgrounds. And so when you're talking to them, you got to be clear about the agenda, clear about the different characters' motivations, clear what's driving the whole story in the first place. You have to always keep that in the forefront. And when you have a sidetrack like a guy wandering into a tent with a family, you know, it that doesn't strengthen the narrative. If you just want to show people are good, we can do that different ways. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He can be struggling like at somewhere, and somebody can just come and help him somewhere else, or just give him money or something. We can show people are good without
The Good Samaritan?
Yeah, we can show a Good Samaritan story without somebody, you know, inviting a stranger into their family in a tent in the woods.
Yeah, there's millions of other ways to do it, I'm sure.
Right, and that's what I'm always trying to get across to him. Because, you know, the story he had initially, there's no cell phones. There's no nothing. So how can you even have a life, you know, in this year, in this time frame, if there's no cell phones, there's no nothing.
Well, I'm going to have to ask Jose, why Amish? Why'd you choose Amish? Because I'm curious about that.
Me too.
Are there any directors that have inspired your work? Do you have any kind of like heroes that you like to emulate?
I love them all. And I don't want to be any one of them. I'm trying to be me.
Yeah.
And so I'm just trying to discover what each of them do that I like facet-wise, you know, and try to incorporate that into my my filmmaking and writing too. It's like, you know, everybody loves Spielberg. I mean, he created the blockbuster movie.
Sure.
Just the, you know.
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
Certainly.
And he was telling me how when he did Jaws, and he got such a reaction from the first, you know, time that the shark came, that he really did it more. But he said when he did it more and they gave it to a test audience, that they didn't respond to it again. So, you know what I mean? But you know it's there, because that builds up the suspense in people.
Yeah.
If you show something too much, then you get desensitized to it.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point.
Right,
Yeah, very
right.
good point.
Stuff like that. And, you know, J.J. Abrams.
Create a mystery that
Yes.
lets your mind work a little
Right,
bit more
because
instead
that's
of
why
throwing everything into your lap all the time.
that's why books are always better than movies. Because when you read a book, you are the director. You are the casting agent. You are the set decorator.
And don't want to be disappointed, don't read the book, right?
Yeah, because books, I mean, because when you get to the movie, you always got to take liberties. Books, you can go on for days
Yeah.
because they like that thick. Movies, hey, look, you got an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah.
So what
I
do you
have
cut
read
out?
a lot of books and movies tied to movies, and the one I always thought that was the closest to what I saw in the movie was The Godfather.
Mm.
Mario Puzo.
Mhm.
His book was Coppola did a great job
Oh, Coppola, yeah.
adapting that book to the movie.
Yes, that's great.
Well, David, I want to thank you for coming by. You're a brilliant
Thank you.
artist
Oh,
and a
that's
fascinating
brilliant.
man. It was
Yeah.
great having you as a guest.
Oh, it's great
And
being
you're
here.
welcome anytime to come
Oh.
back and talk about your movies. And by the way, where does the public see your movies? How do we get to see these movies?
Well, the next one I'm working on is called Three. Really, it's three separate films all shown together at once.
Mm-hmm.
Different cast, crews, and everything. And
That's great.
I wrote and
Good
directed all
trilogy.
three of them, right? And that's going to be at Encore Cinema real soon.
Okay.
Real soon. We're just wrapping
And
up
that's in
some of
Niles,
that.
right?
That's in Niles.
Okay.
Right. It's a guy named Drew Scott. He called me to do this movie about face and ended up writing it and directing it. He got a cinematographer named Andrew. This man is unreal. It's the first time I ever worked with a cinematographer. Cinematographer is the guy who has all the lenses in the camera, and he basically, you know, helps the director build his vision. Normally, I'm behind the camera. Normally, I'm behind a monitor. I'm behind,
Right.
like, basically a TV set watching it unfold to
Okay.
see if it all plays out. But, yeah, he is very creative. Andrew is he's a monster. So it's great collaborating on that one project. That is going to be amazing.
Now,
That's
does he
gonna be
use
amazing.
what makes him great? The lighting, the angles,
Well,
or what?
Everybody has their own thing, and whatever his thing is, you know, I mean, you can't really put it into words. You know what I mean? The way he sees life, the way he sees angles, his style of, lack of a better word, directing, because he's kind of doing that too in
Right.
a small aspect, you know.
Yeah, sure.
And you know, when I'm working with him, the best idea wins. You know, I don't care. You know, all I want is a good movie.
Right.
You can't be so caught up in your ego that, oh, I didn't put that. I don't care who put what. Is it going to be good? That's the
Right.
bottom line.
Yeah, you get
And Andrew, he's been doing it for a while, and he has a great setup and everything. So,
For David, I'm Tommy Chris.
Right.
And we'll see you next time, okay? Keep watching, everybody. Ciao.